you know about 5G? What is 5G?
5G is the next standard for mobile networks.
And what do you think, how will 5G change your life?
No,
Not at all?
no,
Do you know when 5G will start in Austria?
no, right?
What do you know about 5G?
5G? I don't know what is 5G.
It's a new technology after 2G, 3G,
I
4G.
don't like technologies.
Why not?
I don't like. I like to live in reality in this moment now. I don't like to spend time in mobiles, but sometimes I need.
So what do you know about 5G, or what does 5G actually mean?
I have never heard of it, but I assume it has something to do with the internet.
Have you ever heard about 5G, or do you know what 5G means?
Yeah, I've heard about it. It's the mobile data thing when you, with your mobile phone. I just discovered 4G a couple of time ago, so it's not really that much difference, I think.
So what do you know about 5G?
To be honest, I have no clue.
Never heard about it?
A little, but not too much. Not.
Okay, what have you heard about 5G?
I don't know, is it the technical thing or a political thing or?
Well, it's technical and political.
Like a 5G meeting or something like that? But a technical thing.
Not so much, only what's been in the news the last weeks, and all I know is that it's basically important for industry, not so much for regular users, and that it's a shortwave technology, which means that when you want a network that is consistent, you need many antennas. So that's why it's really costly to establish it over the whole country, for example.
Do you think it will influence your life in future if 5G is coming in Austria or in Europe?
Yeah, since I'm planning to work as an engineer, I guess so, because of Industry 4.0. But as a consumer of mobile phoning and such things, I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
If we understand that it will be in all those fields, from smart cities to transport to healthcare to pharmaceuticals to agriculture, yes, it will be a very intensive influence on these fields. And we are a specialized law firm in the field of telecommunication. We are quite intensively working with different IT issues, with data protection issues. So, for a international business law firm like us, this is a very crucial item, very important. AI, artificial intelligence issues, machine learning, disruptive technologies, the whole transport field, the whole infrastructure field in which we are specialized is, of course, strongly interdependence with these issues. New laws and regulations coming along with the introduction of 5G. We care for them and we support firms to enter these markets. Cybersecurity, big issue. Data protection, big issue. Telecommunication regulations, new European land schemas, implementation from the European member states. So I'm not really afraid to go out of work.
Hello and welcome to today's talk about the 5G technology, which is the 5th generation of wireless technology and will become the new standard of mobile technology. We entered an era of competition for a dominant position on the market because of this new technology, and battles are getting more and more intense. And because of China and the rest of Asia, who's leading the moment of the global market in front of the US government and in front of Europe. And that's why we are here today to talk about your situation with the 5G. And I will introduce shortly my guests. Next to me is Jean-Pierre Bien-Aimé. He's the chairman of IREST, which is the Institute of Economics, Social Research and Telecommunication. Hello. Next to him is Christian Jungwirth. He is the CEO of the Octo Community, Austria's biggest community television. And on my left side is Christian Havenegger, who is member of the Austrian House of Parliament and the head of Committee of Innovation, Research and Technology. Hello. My first question will be to Mr. Bien-Aimé. Could you just briefly introduce us to what IREST is?
IREST is a think tank based in Paris, where we have 40 years of existence, created by a former CEO of France Télécom Orange. And we are organizing conferences, regularly conferences on digital and telecoms topics, diversified, such as 5G, of course, but also artificial intelligence, collective intelligence, also digital and art, also business models of the telcos, of the operators, and so on.
Okay, so talking of 5G, could you just briefly tell us what 5G is for everybody?
I think 5G will not be only the continuation of 4G, but also a disruptive technology, as we want in Europe to be disruptive, with three main pillars. The first one corresponding to what is being launched currently in the US, in South Korea, and some countries in Europe, being more precisely enhanced mobile broadband. That is to say, all what will benefit from the high speed, from the high throughput delivered by 5G for broadcast, also for artificial augmented reality, virtual reality, and all applications, videos, high-speed videos, and so on. The second pillar, which will come in a second phase, which will be with a full 5G denomination, which will be standardized worldwide, globally, this year, by middle of this year, corresponds to what we call massive machine type communications. That means millions of, for the Internet of Things, millions of objects that will be connected, and the connection of which will be facilitated by 5G. We think of smart cities, for instance, as a first application. And the third pillar being what we call ultra-reliable, low-latency communications. That will mean really communications in real time. That is to say, no latency, no more latency, and also safety, reliability, enabling applications such as the autonomous vehicles, such as the real remote surgery, which is not yet possible with the existing 4G because of the latency. Also automation, factory automation, what we call the Industry 4.0, industry automation, factories of the future, with the robotization of the factories, and so on. So many applications like that. And it's important to say that we have not seen what will come, what 5G will be, and let's not stop, of course, to what we are seeing in the two coming years, in what is developed, what is launched currently, but what will be launched in this full 5G second phase from 2022-2023.
Lagging can be very annoying, which leads me to your neighbor, Christian, because lagging in television is not a good thing. You want things to be unbroadcast in the moment you can watch it. So why is 5G interesting for Octo and other broadcasters?
Yes, to me it's one of the most interesting aspects on 5G, that it's not longer anymore a real pure telecommunication standard. You can also broadcast broadcast on this standard. It was also be possible on 4G, but they left this chance to make it over 4G because I guess that the capacities haven't been big enough to use it, but in 5G they will deploy it. They will deploy the possibility that it's just not longer only for IP telecommunication and IP internet usage on smartphone and for pure telecommunication in the sense of telephone usage. You can make broadcast in the sense that it doesn't depend on how many people are using your signal. You got more cost in it. Yeah? So this is for us one of the most interesting topic of this. And I think there is also behind the fact that in China the 3 biggest telecommunication industries got licenses for the deployment. It's China Mobile, China Telecom and Unicom, but also Media Broadcast China network. That's one also, it's a little bit in comparison to our ORS. It's the transmitting company of the state broadcast ORF. And so this means this will open, maybe, hopefully, open new chances and new ways for broadcasters, for media broadcasters on especially radio and television to have a new way to distribute programs and content.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And to come to my guest on my left side, just brief introduction to you're head of the committee. What is your main work there? Why do you work there?
Ja, also der Ausschuss für Forschung, Innovation und Technologie setzt sich natürlich damit auseinander, wie dieses 5G-Netz in Österreich auch ausgerollt werden kann. Das heißt, wir schaffen die politischen Begleitumstände dafür mit parlamentarischen Beschlüssen, mit Gesetzen und so weiter. Das ist unsere Aufgabe und das beschäftigt uns schon seit einigen Jahren. Und wir haben eines in Europa und in Österreich auch verstanden. Es wird unheimlich schwierig sein, die 26 EU-Mitgliedstaaten hier unter einen Hut zu bringen, damit sozusagen überall der gleiche technische Standard gewährleistet werden kann. Deswegen war es uns auch wichtig, in Österreich eine Vorreiterrolle einzunehmen. Das heißt, wir sind sehr, sehr früh dazu übergegangen, auch die rechtlichen Begleitmaßnahmen zu gewährleisten, dass wir sozusagen relativ rasch das 5G-Netz ausrollen können. Das ist passiert. Jetzt am Wochenende hat der dritte und größte Telekom-Betreiber in Österreich damit begonnen, sein Netz in Betrieb zu nehmen, A1. Vorher waren es noch Magenta und Hutchinson 3G. Das heißt, wir sind hier auf einem sehr guten Weg. Es gibt jetzt, glaube ich, schon 120 Gemeinden in Österreich, die dann relativ rasch ins 5G-Netz aufgenommen werden. Natürlich ausgehend von den Ballungszentren in die kleineren Gemeinden. Also das ist ein Plan, den wir jetzt bis 2021, 2022, 2023 ausrollen möchten. Und hier sind wir auf einem sehr guten Weg.
Okay, and to put this European or globally, I'd like to ask you, how can we improve the progression of 5G technology in various countries? So not only Austria, not only France, but in Europe, which is very different from the scales. Some are more developed, others not so much.
Yes, indeed, our basis in Europe is the 5G action plan that was displayed by the European Commission in September 2016, following the 5G manifesto that the European industry had communicated in summer of that year to the Commission with their requirements for a sound deployment of 5G, including not too many regulatory constraints, for instance. So with this 5G action plan, by the end of this year, we should have at least one 5G deployment in one big city in each member state. And by the end, 5 years later, by the end of 2025, all the main roads, highways, transport means connected in 5G at least. The situation, of course, will be diverse inside Europe. Some countries will be already, some countries, 6 countries have launched 5G last year. I know that Austria, it will be this year, like in France, since in Austria there was the licensing, 5G licenses allocated in March of last year, where the 3 main operators, T-Mobile, A1 and Drei were allocated the 3.4, 3.8 gigahertz, which is the core band, very important, the core band of 5G. But there are some countries that could be delayed with these spectrum situations that could be not so advanced than in France or in Germany or elsewhere. So it's important that where there remains some spectrum issues, spectrum delays in terms of allocation, the member states should go faster.
What are the main companies leading the market at the moment with 5G technologies?
In terms of manufacturers?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's mainly the big three. The big three, it's Nokia, Ericsson for the European ones, and Huawei for the Chinese one. We have also Samsung to be quoted, but it's mainly Nokia, Ericsson, and Huawei.
How do you see the China influence of Huawei trying to get into the European market and trying to conquer Nokia and Ericsson? Is it a competition? Is it possible?
Nein, ich glaube, es ist ganz, ganz wichtig, dass es hier mehrere führende Firmen und Entwickler gibt, die hier auch die entsprechende Hardware zur Verfügung stellen und entwickeln. Denn nur so können wir auch sicherstellen, dass wir möglichst breit alle Möglichkeiten, alle technischen Möglichkeiten von 5G nutzen können. Und ich glaube, das erzeugt auch einen gewissen Wettbewerb, der am Ende dazu führen wird, dass wir möglichst rasch ein gutes Niveau an Technik bekommen werden. Somit würde ich einen gesunden Wettkampf darin sehen und keine negative Konkurrenz.
Yes, another question politically for you. Trump's policy at the moment is trying to encounter Huawei's technology. Do you think it's because of political or security reasons?
Yeah, in this case, we don't have only the topic or the issue of 5G technologies, because also on Nord Stream, on the pipeline, so there are more and more issues where the United States look a little bit in the way of a kind of prohibition or try to make to get against market-driven developments, and so I see it very critical, yeah, because I follow more you that there is a need for having a competition for the best components, for the best technology and the best price, yeah. And I heard Mr. Grausam from A1 talking about this, and they say a company like A1, a really big one, who gonna build up, roll out a real big infrastructure, it's necessary to have different technologies. You can't build only on one company and on one technology, because when there is a trouble, you are losing 100% of your capacity and of your service. So it's very important to him as the CEO of A1 to have at least 3 different technologies and companies in the infrastructure to be safe on it. Yeah? So I think it's important for the safetiness and the security of running systems to have different competitors into this market and not to drop one out because it's from the wrong country in a way.
So you mentioned Nokia and Ericsson, first of the European markets, and now we have Huawei entering from the Chinese market. And I wanted to ask you, how do you see Huawei entering the market and also a little bit taking over the role of it in Austria's position in Europe?
Ich würde nicht sagen, dass Huawei jetzt erst auf den Markt kommt, sondern sie sind bereits ein sehr, sehr großer Spieler, ein wichtiger Spieler, natürlich auch am europäischen Markt. Und ich denke, es ist gerade im Hinblick darauf wichtig, auch auf den bevorstehenden 5G-Ausbau, dass man sich nicht nur auf 1 oder 2 Konzerne verlässt, sondern dass man das technische Know-how von 3 Weltkonzernen und darunter selbstverständlich Huawei natürlich auch mit im Spiel hat. Und soweit ich weiß, ist auch A1 einer der großen Kunden von Huawei und hat auch hier entsprechende Kooperationen. Nein, also ich würde es falsch finden, wenn man jetzt aus nationalwirtschaftlichen Überlegungen den einen oder anderen Spieler vielleicht vom Markt drängt. Ich glaube, es ist wichtig, dass jeder sein Know-how einbringen kann, dass wir in der Lage sind, auf einem vernünftigen technischen Stand das 5G-Netz rasch auszurollen, und da können alle wesentlichen Spieler auch dazu.
Christian?
Yeah, as I told before, this is a crucial point that we got. Competition makes the best solution. Yeah, and I see no reason to drop one competitor out just because he's, for some perspectives, like from the United States. It's not the whole United States of America. For some of them, it's the wrong company from the wrong from the wrong country. This can't be an argument for kicking one out. So we have to try to find the best solution for the customers, especially for the persons, for the users, and this is only driven by functional competition and the market. And so I think it's very necessary to keep Huawei on board in this competition.
Okay, and leading to you, your comment on this, Huawei entering the market or kind of rolling it at the moment ahead of the others. What do you think about this?
I think, of course, as Chris said, competition is the best thing. And let's not forget that 5G has to be a global standard. So if we don't want to have, as we perhaps knew for 3G, where we had the North American standard, the European one with UMTS, and the Chinese one with the TD-SCDMA. I just heard that UMTS was very successful, the European, but nevertheless it was not global standard. So it's important that 5G be a global standard, and for that we have not to a priori exclude a player, because we would perhaps reach a bad situation with two camps and find again a sort of different standards depending on the regions of the world. So I think it's important to remain to let the actors in the competition towards a global standard. Nevertheless, and based on the behaviors of the European Commission, of some member states, I think the Huawei affair had the merit to put, not necessarily for Huawei, but on a neutral way, to put the point on the security matters. Because definitely security will become, for the web, for 5G, for artificial intelligence and so on, will become a key aspect. And I know that I've read that the European Commission, particularly with the new commissioner, Thierry Breton, will give some guidelines on that point by the end of January or beginning February. So let's see what is done. The commissioner told recently Europe has to better master its data. So I think it's a question of data propriety. And let's mention the example in France, for instance, of the law voted last year, that without mentioning any name of manufacturer, telling that there would be have more strict security testings, security certificates for the operators buying equipments, and the National Agency on Security for IT Systems, ANSSI, will monitor this process of security testing. So I think without targeting any actor, it had perhaps the merit of pointing out this security matter, which will become more and more important.
And keeping the competition alive.
Yeah.
And I have a last question for all of you, starting with here. What are our options for implementing 5G in Europe, really, from every perspective?
Options, that is to say, scenarios?
Exactly. How can we implement 5G in our modern life? Because we need it. We now know that for a long time, actually, we know it. And now it's enrolling slowly but steadily. How are the options to really improve it?
I think In Europe, except perhaps some forerunners, have always been, for instance, the Nordic countries, or. But we have a more reasonable pace. For instance, in my former company, we said Orange. We said it's not so important to deploy the first one than to deploy on the right way, and to offer the full customer satisfaction.
You want to add something to that?
Yes, I'm very curious on the development of this in the challenge of the regulatory policy between media and telecommunication, because it's not any more a topic of one of the both industries. So I'm looking at the discussion here in Austria when we got with RTR, one authority got the hands on media regulatory policies and on telecommunication regulatory policies. And so there's a big question how they will handle this, because there are big interests of the media industry to get their hand upon these new technologies. And it's the way to find a fair way to spread the capacities and the possibilities between the media industry and the telecommunication industry. And I think this is one of the biggest challenge on the political level in this topic, in this issue.
Political Alan?
Ja, also ich glaube, abgesehen jetzt von dem, was wir als Politiker noch machen müssen, 5G wird relativ rasch bei der Bevölkerung ankommen und es wird auch angenommen werden. Das haben wir bei 3G und 4G schon gesehen, bei LTE eben zuletzt. Es wird einfach viel mehr Anwendungen geben, die uns grundsätzlich auch dabei helfen, unseren Standard auch als Industrie- und Wissenschaftsnation weiter voranzutreiben. Und da geht es eben um die Sachen, die wir vorher schon gehört haben, um Industrie 4G. Dann geht es um Smart City-Konzepte. Es geht bei uns zum Beispiel auch in Österreich ganz stark um den Bereich autonomes Fahren. Auch das wird ein Thema sein, das uns in Zukunft sehr, sehr stark betreffen wird. Es geht auch bei uns mit unserer schwierigen Topografie, die wir in Österreich haben, darum, dass wir Ortschaften, Randlagen am Land auch in den Genuss von Breitbandinternet kommen lassen. Das wird in Zukunft immer nötiger sein. Es geht um medizinische Anwendungsmöglichkeiten und so weiter. Bei all diesen Vorteilen, die hundertprozentig dazu führen werden, dass die Konsumenten diese 5G-Technologie sehr rasch annehmen werden, müssen wir jetzt, und das ist die Aufgabe von uns als Politiker, auch in meinem Ausschuss, müssen wir jetzt noch ein bisschen auf die Ängste der Menschen eingehen vor dieser Technologie. Es gibt die Ängste, dass es gesundheitliche Schwierigkeiten mit sich bringen könnte durch das erhöhte Strahlungsaufkommen der mehr Sendeanlagen, die es in Zukunft geben muss. Hier sind wir zum Beispiel in meinem Ausschuss schon aktiv geworden. Es wird hier seitens des österreichischen Parlaments im Zukunftsfolgenbericht auch ein eigenes Gutachten dafür geben, wie sich das jetzt genau in Zukunft entwickeln wird, ob es tatsächlich gesundheitliche Probleme gibt, die irgendwie mit dem 5G-Ausbau mitkommen können. Wir sind derzeit der Meinung, dass es gesundheitlich total unproblematisch ist, aber um auch wirklich unseren Leuten hier in Österreich Sicherheit zu geben, werden wir das jetzt nochmal wissenschaftlich untersuchen lassen und dann freue ich mich schon darauf, dass wir das 5G-Netz möglichst bald sehr flächendeckend in Betrieb nehmen können.
Thank you very much. I think I can close this with this last statement. We will stay interested and curious how 5G will be implemented in Europe and Austria and Paris and all the other countries around the world, and we'll stay connected to this and let you know if we know something new. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching.